Are your actions causing your fellow believers to become weary or even discouraged? Let's talk about it next on Higher Learning. Galatians chapter 6, starting with the 9th verse. Let us not grow weary or become discouraged in doing good. For the proper time we will reap if we do not give in. So then, while we as individual believers have the opportunity, let us do good to all people, not only being helpful, but also doing that which promotes their spiritual well-being, and especially be a blessing. Be a blessing to those of the household of faith, those born again believers. My brothers and sisters, I have to admit, sometimes when I'm talking to my fellow brothers and sisters out there, periodically I hear of how they become a little discouraged or even a little weary because they felt in their heart and saw a need that another brother or sister was going through. And because they were in a position to help, they did. But in return, they received a little attitude. They seemed to be underappreciative of what was being done. And I know we don't do these things because we want a pat on the back. But when we're dealing with each other, at the very least, we want to know that the person that we are helping are thankful. And they show that through their actions, through love, through caring, and showing that person that, wow, what can I do? Because you've done so much for me. You know, when a person has been going through a situation and you see that, you're thinking, well, I'm able because God has blessed me. That's the kind of attitude that you see in the book of Acts. Whereas the people were, well, let's say it this way, the people who were well off, okay, were able to help those. And the Bible talks about that no one was without because they all worked together. And something tells me that there was a great amount of joy because of that. Can you imagine that you were missing something or you didn't have something and all of a sudden you do have it now because somebody gave it to you or provided for you? And you turn around and you realize it's another brother and sister in Christ. You see, that's how God's love works. He touched the hearts of one so that the heart of another will be blessed. But what has to happen is that our actions as we receive these things, these wonderful gifts, should not cause that person to be weary or even wonder if they should have done it in the first place. That's not the right attitude. And unfortunately, I've heard of situations where Christians are taking on a negative attitude or an attitude that does not seem to care or an attitude that they deserve it. And that's not the right attitude as a Christian. So what I'm asking is this. I'm asking that as Christians, brothers and sisters in Christ, one body in Christ, must take a look at how we are acting when we receive these gifts from other brothers and sisters, and be able to look at them with gratitude for what they're doing. And I'm hoping that this gets out, because apparently there are brothers and sisters out there who were not in the best position, but now are better off because someone saw their hurt, their need, and was able to be there for them. So let us not cause others to be weary or discouraged, because we do not want to cause that person who has been touched by God to do the work that they're doing to say, well, why should I worry about this? I'm just going to take care of myself. And that's what happens sometimes. You get weary, you get discouraged, you get upset, you get mad, you get angry. And the world is doing their part as it is, making us angry, making us upset with all the stuff that's going on around us. We do not need to add to all that's going on with our fellow brothers and sisters. So let us love one another. Let us take care of one another. Let us encourage one another, support one another, provide for one another. Because we are the church, and that's what we do. I pray that we will soon get out of this pandemic. But while we're still here, let us do everything we can to be a blessing and not a burden. God bless you all.